Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? You're getting a early start to my vlog tonight. It is 7:35 and I am sitting outside of Half Price Books. I just went inside and now I'm waiting for Alex to text me back. I brought 2 memory cards today because I just did a book vlog, and this is a memory card that Tucker got a hold of. I don't know if you can see it, but you can't really see it on there, but I was trying to, he bit into it. Tucker got a hold of my memory card right there and bit into it. So it says memory card fail on, when I put it into my camera. What did he say? He's so funny. He wants spicy hummus and pita chips. He's getting some stuff he needed to get done. So I filmed a video for my Peter Monn channel, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna go to Half Price Books, I'm gonna film a book vlog, and then I'm gonna get out of here so that you can, because he was playing music, and I got my laundry done a couple days ago. He was like doing his laundry and stuff. So he wanted to play music and all that. I'm gonna move this back a little bit there. So he was wanting to play music, and I was like, I'm just gonna let you play music. Then he's getting excited because he is going to watch Game of Thrones tonight. Are you guys all excited about Game of Thrones? I know a lot of you are Game of Thrones fans out there. Okay, do you see my little gold necklace that I have? Now let me just tell you, I have been looking for little gold necklaces like this forever, okay? When I was in Miami at the street fair, I bought one. I wore it one night. I think I showed it in a vlog, and I paid like $40 for it. On Etsy, before I left, I bought another one, and I paid like, it's like a St. Christopher medal, and I paid like $60 for it, okay? But I really, really wanted these necklaces. I got this at Urban Outfitters. It was like $8, $6. It was really cheap. It's actually, they were zodiac signs, and this one is a Gemini. I'm not a Gemini, I'm a Cancer. But they didn't have Cancer, and the only ones they had were like Gemini and Leo, and I like this one better, so I got this. But it was sitting on the counter, and I hadn't even taken it out of the little package. So I took it out today, and I put it on. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And here I got it for $8 at Urban Outfitters. Ridiculous. So anyway, it has been a really great day. We slept in today. And then we went to brunch at Cafe Patachou. I had an omelet and crispy potatoes and a bagel. I haven't eaten, like, I only ate half my bagel and very few of my crispy potatoes. They're at home in the refrigerator. I brought them home. And Alex had chili. He had a cup of chili instead of a bowl, and then he had his Cuban breakfast. And then we came home, and I drove around and listened to Columbine for a little bit because I'm trying to really get into it. And then I actually talked about it at length on I did like this random book vlog. So, he just said, okay, babe. So anyway, I talked about well, I'll tell you in a second, because last night I watched a Diane Sawyer interview with Sue Klebold, who is the mother of Dylan Klebold, one of the shooters. And then I watched the TED Talks as well, which I talked a lot about because I remembered seeing it. But when I watched it again last night, I feel like I must have watched her speak somewhere else, because the TED Talks that I watched last night really had very little effect on me. And usually TED Talks have a lot of effect on me. But it didn't, and I almost like kind of had a hard time watching it, in all honesty. So I mean, her perspective was interesting, and she talks about it more being like a murder-suicide. She goes into more about like brain health, which I think is really interesting. I don't know, I feel like somewhere I heard her talk about like kindness and compassion of the world, and I don't know where that is. There's like a bunch of interviews that she's done, so I don't know which interview it is. But anyway, so we did that, and then when we came home, he like started his laundry, and then he laid down in bed and just like, I guess, hung out and stuff. And I listened to my Columbine audio for like an hour, and then I came home, and then I filmed this video for my Peter Monn channel, and then I was going to film other videos, but he was wanting to get his laundry done, so he had the Alexa like playing downstairs and upstairs. So I was like, after I got that uploaded, I was like, I'm just gonna get out of your hair for a little bit so you can do all this stuff. And I had dusted a bunch downstairs the other day, and so he had said he would do the floors if I did like, dusted like the tabletops and stuff. So I did like all the tabletops, took everything off of it and dusted all that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. Okay, so our house gets so dusty, and I almost kind of wonder, like with Pee-Pee and his cough, if like that's what, and especially like Boo Radley and his like reverse sneezing, if like because the house gets dusty, because we have wood everywhere, right? I wonder if that has something to do with it. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he goes, our house is really, really dusty too. And he has a newborn, and he said, we have an air purifier that we put downstairs, and then we have an air purifier in his bedroom. And I said, well, where did you get them? And he said, we got them at Costco. They were like $150 each, and you only have to replace the filter like every 6 months. And I was like, well, how does it work? And he said, you literally just put it in the room, and then it pulls like hair and dust and particles, and it just purifies the air. And he said, it's fantastic. You can totally tell a difference, literally like overnight. And he said it has like 3 different, he told me the type and everything. He was like, it has like 3 different filters and that work like simultaneously. So I'm thinking about going to Costco and getting an air purifier for our downstairs and an air purifier for our upstairs. That might really help, because the dust is just a lot in our house. And so Alex was doing the floors and stuff while he was doing the laundry. But anyway, but he was almost done when I left, so. Spring cleaning together. And let's see, what else? And then tonight he's gonna watch Game of Thrones. I'm going to get something to eat at the grocery store right now. I think I'm gonna get some hummus too. And then I'm going to eat, and I'm gonna lay down for a little bit, and then probably listen to more of the Columbine audiobooks. I really want to get into it. I'm like an hour into it right now. I have so many books I want to listen to on Audible that I've already bought on Audible that I really want to get into them. So I've got to kind of like start working through some of these books instead of listening to 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. So last night I got like an hour into the Columbine book, and then when I got home I watched the Sue Claybold TED Talks and the interview, like I was saying. I don't know, like it's so interesting to me. You know, like, I have to say, like I have a little bit more empathy, I guess, now, having watched her story and reading the book by the daughter of the BTK killer. Like, I feel like, to some degree, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, even though their stories are very, very different, and I would definitely say that Sue Claybold has more awareness about, like, her situation. Something smells like something's burning, or it smells like a steak or something. Why would Rally's be closed so early? Is Rally's out of business? That's interesting. So anyway, I never go to Rally's. The last time I went to Rally's, it made my car stink so bad. I can't even remember when it was. I just remember, like, my car stank so bad for, like, days after. I was like, I'm not going to Rally's again. But definitely Sue Claybold, I would say, has more awareness about what happened and has a lot of remorse. But, you know, it's hard, I think, in, like, seeing it, like, from our point of view, because I think it's easy to be quick to judge, maybe. And maybe I was too quick to judge with Carrie Rollins from the BTK Killer book. Because, why does it look like it's just closed down for good? That's so weird. Because when I was watching Sue Claybold, like, I started to sympathize with maybe both of them a little bit. That, you know, on one hand, it's like, you have all this remorse, and Sue Claybold talks a lot about guilt that she has. You have all this guilt, right, for, you know, your child or your parent or your sibling being somebody that's responsible for so much tragedy in so many people's lives. I mean, 13 people were killed at Columbine, 24 were injured, not to mention the hundreds of people that were forever affected by that, you know? And so there's the guilt and the remorse on one hand, but then on the other hand, there's the grieving that goes along with your loss of that person in your life, as well as, like, this one day you know, like she says in this interview with Diane Sawyer, she says, you know, one day I woke up and I was this glowing mother and wife, and 24 hours later, I was the mother of a horrific gunman. And she was like, you know, like it completely changes your perspective. This car behind me is like fishtailing and all kinds of stuff. She said, like, it completely changes your perspective on the world, and this guy has somewhere he needs to go, so he needs to just go and go by me. Go. Yeah, you got somewhere you need to be fast, so. Do you hear that? So anyway, I can't really imagine what that's like. You know, like if I woke up tomorrow and found out, like, that somebody that was close to me, like, was a serial killer or had done a shooting or something like that, that, like, my perception of them had always been that they were just sweet and kind, you know? But the thing is that this is where I had the problem with it. Okay, so, in watching the Diane Sawyer, did I not bring my fanny pack? Oh my God. I want some chapstick. In watching the Diane Sawyer interview, like, okay, she doesn't really talk, like, she addresses in the TED Talks. The TED Talks is very short, and it's really more about, like, how to help people that are suicidal. And she does say in there that she doesn't know when her son turned from being suicidal to homicidal, but she says something to the effect of that she believes that her son was suicidal and that it wasn't that he wanted to kill others, it was that he wanted to die, which was interesting perspective. And so she talks about, you know, like mental health, and she talks about, she calls it good brain health and looking for the signs, and that she would definitely today like look for the signs. But when you go to the Diane Sawyer interview, what's interesting is the signs were kind of there. She ignored the signs. She, like, refused to see them. And I'm not just talking, like, they start off talking about, like, how he lost interest in his school grades and he was, like, very smart, right? Well, okay. That could have been anything. That could have been just depression or drugs and alcohol, or it could have been, you know, a myriad of things, or just, you know, being bullied at school, or girl problems. I mean, there could be 100 different reasons why he lost interest in school. But then they go in and they talk about how he got into trouble at school because this kid that he got into it with, he like he engraved something on his locker and he got caught. And then when he like got confronted by the dean and or the principal, like in the office, like he went crazy and like started like bouncing off the walls, literally. And then he broke into a car and stole electronics and got a felony charge. This was all like in close proximity to the time of all this happening. And then there was one other thing that had happened at school. I can't remember. It was like a vandalism thing. And then in both instances, he like went crazy when he was confronted. This is the Dylan Klebold kid. In the book Columbine, they describe that Eric Harris, the other shooter, they describe him as the controlling one, which was interesting because in Sue Klebold's TED Talks, she talks about how the problem was, or maybe it was the interview, I don't know, but she talks about how her son was a sensitive kid that was under, like, had this, she said, complicated friendship with somebody that was very controlling, basically indirectly blaming this on Eric Harris. Well, there might be some truth to that, but, you know, nobody else makes you pick up a gun and shoot and kill somebody. I just don't believe that. And so she goes, so there's still, to me, like 20 years later, a lot of denial there. You know, I don't blame the woman. I don't think she's responsible for it. You know, Diane Sawyer asks her, do you think that you could have stopped this from happening? And I can't remember what she says, but I don't blame her for it. I don't think she's responsible for it. She seems like she was a good mother. She really does, and she did the best that she could do, you know, and I can't imagine her living through that. But the denial is still very relevant there, I think, for her. And so Diane's like, you know, you saw all this stuff go on, like, you know, she, like, he was arrested and he was, like, acting out, and then his grades were lowered, and she was like, yeah, and she was like, and I just excused it away. I mean, that part she is very aware of. But then she goes in and she talks about how, like, she had the mom talk with him one day, and she said, I'm actually going to turn around and drive a little bit further until I'm at the 23-minute mark, so it'll just stop. She said that she had the conversation with him one day about, I don't know why, this is just totally on a tangent, but a friend of mine posted, he's not from here, but he posted on Instagram today a story, like this drink that he was drinking that looked like, I don't know, like some whole food deliciousness, but it wasn't. I can't remember what it was called, like Renew or something. And then he had like this plastic container. It was like chia seeds, strawberry, bananas. It looked delicious. I was like, I need to start eating like that on a daily basis. But anyway, she tells this story about how, like, when all this stuff went down, she, like, pushed him up against the refrigerator in the kitchen, and she was like, listen, buddy, you're being selfish. This isn't all about you. You're affecting other people. And she's like, I gave him the mom talk. And she said, and then I said to him, and by the way, it's Mother's Day, and you forgot it. And she starts crying. And Diane Sawyer says, you know, like, well, why did you kind of let him get away with all of that or whatever? And she was like, because he was so sweet. She was like, he was always just so sweet. He was my sweet boy or something like that. And then she says, I don't remember how the confrontation ended, but he looked at me and he said, please stop pushing me. I don't know how much I can take. Or something like that, or like if I can hold myself back or something like that. And then she catches herself and she goes, but he didn't mean it like in a scary way. He just meant in a very nice way, like, please be, you know, like, and I was like, I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? Like, the awareness for me would be like, if in 20 years later you look at that and you go, maybe I didn't realize that at the time he had a lot of anger he didn't know how to control. You know what I mean? Like, okay, then that would be awareness to me. But to say, oh, no, he was a sweet kid, he didn't mean it that way. I don't know. It was interesting. You should watch the Diane Sawyer interview. It's like 2 parts. I haven't watched the second part yet because they go in and they talk about the journals, because it says at the end of this interview, it's only like 9 minutes. They talk about the journals, and then they talk about the thing that made her come to the realization of who her son really was. Because she does. I mean, she has great awareness of how much tragedy he brought over the world. And actually, at the beginning of the TED Talk, she goes in there and she says there are 3 things that she has to achieve when she talks to somebody. And she says she never knows when she's talking to somebody if it was possibly somebody that was directly affected by what her son did, and so she has to apologize for his behavior, which is interesting because then she just goes, I'm sorry if my son affected you. And I'm like, she's very flat. Like, she's flat emotionally. And then she does talk about how she's had her own issues with mental health, and that she started having panic attacks because she didn't know, like, wherever she went, apparently people just said horrible things to her, you know, like, it very much reminds me of that movie, We Need to Talk About Kevin or whatever. Do you guys remember that movie? And I think that her purpose for coming out and speaking is because she wants to stop this from happening again in the future. The things she missed, she doesn't want other parents to miss. Like she does say in the interview with Diane Sawyer, she says that today, knowing what she knows, that she wouldn't allow him to get away with it. She would like continue, like he says something about, she asks him about why you seem so tired or something. She was like, is something wrong? You seem really tired. And he goes, no, I've just got a lot of homework to do. And he goes, I'm going to go to bed. And she goes, okay. And she goes, today I would just continue to dig until I found out what was going on. Which I think is interesting. But she does, like, she focuses more on, like, the suicide aspect of it in the TED Talks than she does about the murder aspect. And the thing, I don't know if I said this on here, but I may have said it on my BookTube vlog. The thing that she says that I think is interesting is, oh, I don't think I said it on here. In talking to Diane Sawyer, she said Diane Sawyer says at the beginning, like, is there anything that you would like to say? And she said, I just want to apologize or say I'm sorry to anybody out there that was harmed by my son. And Diane Sawyer says, do you mean killed? And she says, I still have a hard time saying that word. And Diane Sawyer said, do you think that's because you're still in denial? And she said, Diane Sawyer is such a fantastic interviewer. I love her. And she says, she kind of looks off and she goes, perhaps. She's like, I don't know. She's like, perhaps. And it's like, perhaps. I mean, it's been 20 years, you know, like. I do remember my mom saying something to me one time, though. We had a conversation, and I don't believe it was about Columbine, but maybe it was. I don't remember. But it was about the idea of if you had a child that was a killer, you know? And she said to me, as your mother, I would find it very difficult to not come visit you if you were in prison. She said, I would find it very difficult to not come to the court and the trial and stand by you. She said, I would find it very hard to not love you as a mother, but I could not condone what you had done. I could not condone what you had done, but that wouldn't mean that I didn't love you as a mother. And I can remember asking her, like, how would you differentiate it? And she said, unless you're a mother, you could never understand. And, you know, and I don't get that because I'm not a parent, right? But like my mother said that, and this is years ago that she said that to me. And so, you know, like, I wonder, like, if you're a parent out there, what do you think about that statement? I mean, can you understand how Sue Klebold would feel completely horrible and remorseful about what her son did, but yet also grieve him and be, you know, and love him? I mean, I think that it's almost as if it's two different people. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost as if for her, because she probably, you know, I was sitting there watching it last night, and maybe they'll address it in the Columbine book. I don't know. Maybe I'll find out more. But I was like wondering, were they allowed to have a funeral, like, for him? You know, like, even though he killed all these people, did she have a funeral? Like, was there a funeral? Like, what happened? You know, like, I don't know that yet. So I'm sure that comes out in the book. So don't ruin it for me, because I want to find out and hear it. Whoever is narrating the book is fantastic, and it's very interesting. It's just so like, the details are. It's just saturated with details. And it's interesting when he goes in, because he's talking about, like, each person, and he goes in and tells, like, I mean, as a nonfiction writer, David Cullen is fantastic at characterizing these people that are real people, because he goes in and he almost, like, writes about them as if they're characters. Like, it's very interesting, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So, yeah, I don't know. I would think to some degree there would be no closure. So it would almost be like your son left one day and never came home, the son that you knew, and then you also had the son that was, like, I think Carrie Rollins even talked about that in the book. Like, she had two different fathers. Like, the one father she didn't even know, you know? I don't know, but now that I've, like, heard two people's stories about it, and I do think I want to read the Sue Klebold book, excuse me, now that I've heard two people's stories about it, that are both family members of these killers, what's interesting to me about it is that there must, and they're similar, their telling is very similar, so there must be some consistency in the emotional response of what it's like to be a family member of a killer. You know what I mean? That of, like, I don't know, the dichotomy of, you know, loving them and having this relationship with them, but seeing something completely different. I don't know. It's going to stop, and I'm going to go to the grocery store because I'm almost back there. So I will be back to vlog a little bit later. Bye. All right, I'm back. And it is much, much later. It is 5:24 a.m. And I am wide awake and very rested. I went home and sat down with Alex and ate. We watched, he watched Game of Thrones, the new episode, and I sat there with my headphones on, and I watched this Netflix show called, I think it's an Australian show maybe, or an English show, and it's called Diva Brides. Don't ask me why I was watching this show, but it's kind of like Bridezilla in the United States. But anyway, there's another show that used to be on Netflix that I watched that was like, I think this one was like an English show, but the one I used to watch was an Australian show, and it was very similar. So anyway, I watched that and just sat there and kind of laughed, and I ate my food, and got so tired. And so I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs. When I got done, I was like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna watch a bunch of TV. he has so many shows to catch up on. So I said, okay, I'm going to go upstairs and lay down for just a little bit. And he was like, okay. So I went upstairs with PP and Boo. Always come upstairs, but Tucker stays down with him. So PP and Boo came upstairs with me, and then I lay down to take a nap. Well, a nap. I was just going to sleep for like an hour, and I just was out. I mean, I was absolutely out. And Alex came up like probably an hour and a half later, and I woke up and we talked for a couple minutes, and then he's been like not hanging out looking at his phone as much. He's been kind of going right to bed. And so I said, I'm just going to lay here for like a half an hour longer. I think it was around 12-ish. I don't know what time it was. But anyway, I kept on waking up like every hour on the hour, and I was like, I was so comfortable. Are you ever just like so comfortable in bed, like you just don't want to move? Like I had one leg out, and the fan was perfect, and the temperature in the room was perfect, and the dogs were laying around next to me. I felt so comfortable, and I just did not want to move. So I just kept on saying, okay, I'm going to go back out and vlog in an hour. And I wanted to listen to Columbine too. And so anyway, I just kept on laying there. And then I woke up I've been listening to Columbine for like a half an hour. So it's 5:30 almost right now. But so I got up because PP woke up and was like he had to go outside. So I took them outside, and then I was just like, then I was up. So it's cold. It's 34 degrees right now in Indianapolis. Mrs. Birdie is in her nest. When I take the dogs out front, or if I go out front, like I look through the window first to see if she's there. If she's there, I try to go out real quietly. I'm hoping everything's okay. I'm kind of surprised. I can hear like the chirping of like baby birds like outside, and she hasn't had her babies yet, or the babies haven't been born yet. So I'm kind of like hoping that they're okay. I'm sure they are. But anyway, so we walked out. I took the dogs outside, and I looked up at her. I said, we're just coming outside to go potty, Mrs. Birdie. Alex thinks it's so funny that I talked to her. I slept so deep. Alex said that last night too. We were talking about that at brunch. He was like, I said, did you sleep well last night? He's like, I slept so deep. I slept so deep tonight. I mean, I feel like really rested right now. Like I could just stay up for the rest of the day, which I won't. But I didn't end up putting my book vlog up that I did, so I'm going to put it up tomorrow. I have my training at 1, and then we have marriage counseling at 6, and then I'm going to see if Alex wants to go out to dinner tomorrow night. It was a good day. It was just a really relaxing day. I don't want to dominate the conversation when it's just me talking. I don't want to like make the whole vlog about the Columbine thing, but it's like so interesting when it's making me think about, I'm not very far into it, but he goes this whole thing and he talks about after prom, and it was interesting. I mean, not this whole thing, but he talks about after prom, like he goes in and describes prom and stuff, and he's talking about after prom. I did not go to prom, and I had a couple friends that like wanted me to go with them, and I just was real like anti-prom. I think like kind of weirdly in retrospect, maybe I was a little afraid to go. I don't know why. But a couple of my friends, there was like 3 of my friends and their dates, they went to this restaurant called Schaefer's, and which was like a fondue place in Indianapolis. It doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, it was like, oh my God, it was this great fondue place. And it was like very dark lit. And it was just like atmospherically, it was just like really cool restaurant. And we would go in there and just get the cheese and the chocolate and then like waters to drink or whatever. And I remember that like 3 of my friends went with their dates. And then like 2 of my friends, one of which I think was maybe 3 of my friends, because 2 of them were juniors, and then my other friend that was a senior with me, we all went, and like we all wore like black turtlenex and stuff, and we like went and just had dinner, like the 4 of us, and we thought it was hilarious that it was like us, and then they were there and they were all in their prom dresses and stuff. One of my friends, who she just recently reached out to me, and we've been talking again. You know who you are. She watches my vlog like every day. She was one of my friends, I think, that went out to dinner with us that night. Maybe not. Maybe it was I think it was just maybe my 3 friends. I know it was my one friend that I was like a senior with that lived down the street from me. I remember she and I definitely being there, because we were like, okay, what are we gonna do now afterwards? We were like, there's no like where are we gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, actually, I think that's not true, because my friend that, I have to ask her, my friend that I'm thinking of that watches my vlog now, she had a boyfriend. So I bet they would have gone to prom, because even though she was a junior, because it would have been, we had junior, senior prom together. So I bet she would have gone to prom. I'm almost positive she probably did. So then it would have been my friend that was a senior and I, and then my friend that was a junior. Because they both kind of wanted to go to prom, and they like through other people, like told other people they wanted me to like ask them to go, and I just played dumb and acted like I didn't want to go. But I remember us like later sitting in the car and being like, okay, what do we do now? Or something like that. But it was weird in talking about it when he was talking about it on the thing, because like, obviously it's not after prom, because I don't remember going and doing like, I don't know, but anyway, he talks about this whole like after prom thing they had at Columbine High School, and it was like all like Las Vegas. But I do know that like after graduation, like our school had something like that. And what's really weird is that like I kind of have this like vague memory of going to something like that. But I don't know if, like, this is what's gonna sound so strange. I've also had dreams of going to that like as a reunion, like an after reunion like party that's almost like after graduation or after prom, where they have like games and everybody's dressed down and stuff like that. Like, I've had dreams about that, like going to that. I don't know why. And it was weird when I was listening to it tonight, because I was like, did I go to that? Like, I don't remember. Like, I have very like vague memories of graduation night. I remember I graduated, and then I came home, and I remember my mom had to get together with some of the friends and not my friends, like family friends and relatives. And then I remember going and doing something with my friends, but I'm sure at some point I've talked about it on here. I don't know, I'm gonna have to like call some of my friends and ask them like, what did we do graduation night? Like, I just don't remember. It's weird. Memory's kind of a strange thing as you get older. You don't, like, some things you remember very, very clearly, and other things you don't remember, or like something will trigger it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I did, or like, that's exactly what happened that night. And then other things, it's like you don't remember at all. It's really strange. My cousin's son is graduating this year, which is so bizarre to me. I can't honestly say that it feels like it was just yesterday that he was born. Like, sometimes it feels like it was not too long ago. But I think about it, it's like, I remember when he was born, and I was with my first boyfriend, who was very involved with our family. My past 2 boyfriends, well, you know, my only 3 long-term relationships I've had have all, and Alex, have all been very involved in my family. But I remember that day, I was working. His birthday's in January. And I remember getting the call that Caroline had him. And so I went over there to the hospital. Excuse me, she had him at the women's hospital. And I remember going over there after work, and I took a picture of my mom holding him. My mom was so excited. So excited. And, I remember later, like, Caroline and I, this must have been, like, that Christmas. She had him in January, so it would have been the following Christmas. We were at her parents'. And I was, like, looking for her, and I was like, where did Caroline go? And they're like, I don't know, I think she went and took him into the other room or something. So I went and looked for her, and she was sitting on the floor in her parents' bedroom, and he was, like, sitting in between her, and she just looked so tired. And she was, like, watching this TV, and I kind of sat down on the edge of the bed, and I go, what are you watching? And she was like, do you guys remember those Einstein baby videos? And it would be like a block, and then it'd be like a square, and then like it'd just be like objects, and they would just, and I said, what are you watching? And she's like, this Einstein baby video, and she's like, he literally can just watch it for hours. And then I remember, like, this square or something came up, and she goes, that's his favorite. Anyway, but I think about, like, when he was little, and he just was, oh my God. My mom and my aunt and my cousin just dressed him so adorably. I mean, he was always in, like, a little suit jacket, little tweed suit jacket, and they dressed him so nice. And, I mean, that kid was loved. He was so loved, especially by my aunt and uncle. That's the one thing I really wish my uncle could have made it to him graduating. They were so close. And, but then I remember my mom and him, like, my mom would, like, babysit him, like, I think once or twice a week she would have him. And, like, in the summer she would, like, take him swimming at her pool. And because I can remember, like, she started wearing glitter nail polish a lot, and I was like, I said to her one time something about, why are you wearing, like, glitter nail polish or something? Like, she always wore this glitter nail polish, and she's like, because he loves it. And she was like, and that's what he loves, so that's what I wear. He likes me to point to things with it. And this is so funny. Caroline and I were talking about this for not too long ago. When he was really little, like, he would not talk, like, at all. Like, he wouldn't talk. And they were really, really worried about him because he was, like, almost 5 and he hadn't started talking yet. And he would point to things. And, like, if he wanted, like, a glass of milk or something, he would, like, point to it. Or if he wanted to watch a movie, he would point to the TV. He, like, wouldn't talk. It was this huge deal. I remember, like, they were all really, really worried about it, that he was never going to talk. And, my mom had worked in special ed, and which is what we called it back then. I don't know what we call it now, but, and she had worked specifically with kids that had autism, and I can remember saying that he was fine, not to worry about it. She was like, we see this a lot in kids, not to worry about it. And everybody was, Caroline and my aunt and uncle were so worried that he was, like, never going to talk, that there was something wrong with him, and that they were trying to get him in with, like, speech pathologists and things like that. Let me just tell you how much this kid talks today, okay? Like, and they never did, like, he never went through any, like, mainstream kind of, like, speech therapy or anything like that. He just started growing out of it. And he is, like, such an intellectual speaker today. He really, really is. And, like, my uncle would take him to movies. Like, Caroline used to laugh. She'd be like, I think my dad takes him to movies he probably shouldn't be going to. And, because my uncle loved to go to movies, so he just took him to every movie, with him. And, I don't know, kid has no problem speaking today. He's very, very educated, very literate. And then I remember him just being like, like I can remember him at my mom's funeral. He was so little. He and my mom were so close. And he was so little. I can remember like every Halloween and, like of them all just like running around Caroline's. He always was like, like Caroline used to have these chili parties on Halloween in the neighborhood. So all of the kids in the neighborhood would be running in and out. And, just the last couple years he got really involved playing drums, and he has a band and stuff like that. And it's like, so no, it doesn't really seem like it was yesterday in reality, My God, it seems like forever ago that I was with that boyfriend. Like, it really feels like a long time. I mean, that was like, I don't, like, being in the apartment that we lived together in, like, that feels like forever ago that I was in that apartment. Like, forever ago. I haven't even seen him in years, He lives in Florida now. So, it doesn't feel like it was just yesterday that he was born. It really, really doesn't. Like, even with Alex and I was thinking about this the other day, that, like, when I was talking last night about, like, time seems to go really, really fast. Here I am driving by this gym again, which is where I need to be. There is somebody in there just, like, really. I need to take some motivation from all of that. But, like, I can remember, like, I was thinking about this when I got done vlogging the other night, talking about, like, how fast time goes sometimes. I don't want the camera to fall. And, like, when Alex and I got together, I think it was 10 years ago, you guys. 10 years ago right now, this year. We're coming up on our 11th year anniversary in August. So, it feels surreal to me that we've been together that long. And so much is different. Like, when I met Alex, he had these two, like, he's always had, like, lots of friends, but he had these two really, really close friends that, like, we did everything with. And the other one is married now and has been married, like, 4 years. We went to his wedding a couple years ago. And then his other friend lives in Dallas and lived in New York before that. And it feels like he's been gone forever. And, I don't know, like, our life just looks so different compared to what it did that first, couple years. I feel like when I look back on our relationship, there's, like, several stages of our relationship. There's, like, I feel like there's, like, the early relationship. And then I feel like there was, like, the wedding engagement period. And then I feel like there was the after wedding period. And then there was kind of like the settling in. And then there was the status quo. And then there's now. "11 years seems like a long time, 11 years to almost spend every day and every night with somebody. Isn't that crazy? So I don't know. I don't feel like sometimes time really does go that fast when you look at the specifics of it. When I look at, with Alex, like 10 Christmases. We were trying to remember something the other day. And I was like, what did we do? I was like, I don't even know. think like one of the strangest things for me is, you know, when we got together, it was like on the heels of, oh, the battery's gonna die here in a second. And where am I at on time? I'm gonna have to pull into this gas station up here and change the battery. I do have another battery. One of the strangest things for me is that, you know, when we first got together, it was on the heels of my mother having just passed away. And it's been so long, you know, I mean, it's been like 11 years this May since she passed away. It doesn't seem like it was just yesterday or anything, you know? Seems like it's been a really, really long time. So many things have happened, you know? And one of the things that's crazy to me is that I've almost been together with Alex the total amount of time that I was together with both of my previous boyfriends together. We never thought we would make it this far. We really didn't. I mean, we were not the couple that was supposed to make it, you know? Like, we just weren't. I don't think either one of us ever thought that we would be together, like, 6 months down the road. Neither one of us did. Like, we were not looking for it. We didn't think it would happen, you know? Like, it's crazy to me in retrospect that, like, we're that couple that stayed together, and it hasn't been easy, but it hasn't been bad. It's been great, you know? Okay, I need to pull into this gas station up here. Can't believe the battery is still going. I think sometimes getting through the tough times is what helps a relationship grow too, you know? Okay. Grab my battery. Oh, please tell me that my battery is in here. Oh, it is, thank God. Okay. I'm gonna stop this, I'll be right back. I'm not gonna vlog for a whole lot longer anyway, because I'm gonna listen to, like, do I have any more gum in here? Any more of that clove gum? I wanna listen to like another half an hour of my audiobook before I go back to bed. The other day, what day was it? I was so frustrated. I either had to change the battery while I was vlogging, or I can't remember what day it was, or I didn't have another battery with me or something, because I didn't have like the charged battery, the uncharged battery at home, like I hadn't put it in the charger. I can't remember what it was, but so when I came home, I left the camera next to the computer. Oh, I know what it was. I didn't like, I usually take the memory card and I render it, like when I get home. But since we've been back from vacation, I haven't been doing that. I've been like leaving the camera downstairs, and well, obviously it's all downstairs, but I've been leaving the camera like next to the computer or out. And then the next morning when I get up, like today, I didn't even start rendering my vlog until like 4 o'clock, which is why I got it up so late tonight. I was listening to my audiobook and I was like, oh, I forgot to render the video. I would like usually have all that done, have it uploaded and all that kind of stuff. And, but I didn't. Well, I hadn't charged the battery from filming videos earlier, and I hadn't charged the battery, my 2 separate batteries, and I didn't charge the vlog battery. So, like, I go to film videos, and I didn't have either battery charged. I, like, started filming the video, and I got, like, 5 minutes into it. I was filming, like, I can't remember what, it was some video from my Peter Monn channel, and I started, it's always weird to me to say the Peter Monn channel, I don't know why, it's funny to say my own name, but, I started filming it, and I got, like, 5 minutes into it, and the battery started flashing. It flashes, like, in the corner, like, when it's, like, about to die. And in my old camera, when, like, that Sony, when it would die, I had, like, probably a good, like, 2 to 3 minutes left, but on this one, I have literally, like, less than a minute. Like, when it starts flashing, it's, like, gonna die any second. So I was like, damn it, I have to charge the other battery. So I had to charge the other battery, and then, or I charged the battery, and I charged it for, like, 10 minutes, and then filmed that video, and I was just, like, interchanging the batteries back and forth all day long, getting them filmed, because I didn't think, you know? I've had that reunion dream several times, and it's very vivid to me whenever I have it. Like this dream of me going to my high school reunion, and like even as I'm talking about it right now, I can see it, and it's like in this dark gymnasium, but it's not necessarily like our school gymnasium. And like I come out into like this, it's like a school dance, but it's in the gymnasium, but everybody's kind of dressed down. It's not like real formal. And all of these people are like, you know, it's not like everybody's coming up to me and being like, ah, but like I'm talking to people that I see and they're like, oh, how are you? It's great to see you. You know what I mean? Like it's just very casual. And I wonder if some, you know, I'm a believer that I don't believe that dreams foretell our future. I'm not a believer in that. But I do wonder if it's not like my subconscious, like kind of like working things out on some level, that I wish that my high school experience had been different, you know, that like it would have been more normal like that. Because what, like I've talked about my reunion that I actually went to, you know, that it was nice. You know, I had a good experience. It's gonna be weird. Like my 25th I didn't go to, I was supposed to, but I had a pageant that I was judging that weekend, that I got like this opportunity to go judge this pageant through a friend of mine. And I wonder if like it was, they had it, but it was small. Like it wasn't a lot of people, but it was the 25th. And next year is my 30th. And I wonder if they're going to have like a big deal for it. Because like the 20th was a big deal. Do they do a big deal for the 30th? It's funny because I'll get like people that reach out to me and they'll be like, they'll say like, oh my gosh, my kids were watching a YouTube video of this woman named Trisha Paytas, and I saw that you were in it, and they're like, they can't believe that I actually went to high school with somebody that knows Trisha Paytas, or they'll say the same thing, it'll be Shane Dawson or Amelia Fart or something like that. And I get these messages from them, and they're like, they always are like, yeah, like my son or my daughter wants to start YouTube, do you have any suggestions on it? And I'm always like, yeah, like this is what I suggest, or you know, like, hey, like, yeah, tell them they should do it, and you know, whatever. And I think it's funny. This car was like riding my tail. They must have somewhere to get to. It's interesting, like out here, like this, I'm out by where I grew up, kind of where my dad lives, and I know that there are kids that live here that go to like private schools that are like a half an hour away, which means that like they would be leaving now to go to school, like probably even earlier than right now. Like that is early to be up, isn't it? When you're that age. I don't, like, the funny thing is that I don't remember ever being really that late to school, or really even struggling in the morning to go to school. Like, I don't remember that. I did take a lot of naps after school when I was growing up, you know. I've always been a napper, but I don't remember, like, struggling to get to school. I just don't. But I was kind of also excited to see my friends in the morning, you know? Like, especially, like, my junior, senior year. Did I drive both years, my junior and senior year? Yeah. So, I remember, like, you know, I drove my friends to school. So, I was excited about that, you know, in the mornings, like, seeing my friends and picking them up, and we would blast like The Cure and the Smiths, the Pogues, Jesus and Mary Chain. What else did we listen to back then? Susie and the Banshees, Public Image Limited, New Order. Oh, New Order was huge for us in high school. We listened to a lot of New Order. That Substance, if you are a New Order fan, that Substance double disc CD, oh my God. I actually remember my friend, she bought that for me, I think the year, like when I turned 18, because they came out with like a special edition of it or something, and she got that for me. We listened to a lot of obscure bands too, where there would be like one song that I would listen to, like, you know, like you'd have the tape, like we listened to tapes, so I'd have the tape and I would listen to like one song. Oh, I listened to a lot of like Indigo Girls. I listened to REM. REM was huge. I listened to Natalie Merchant, 10,000 Maniacs. Listened to a lot of them. The Violent Femmes I loved in high school. Who else did we listen to? A lot of Smiths. The Smiths were probably my favorite band in high school, next to New Order. I don't know, I might have liked them more. I love the Smiths. I still love the Smiths. So, and Morrissey by himself, but I was really more of a Smiths fan, like, together as a group. This is so weird that I'm saying this, because this was in a dream, I think, that I had. Chrissy Hines and the Pretenders. I feel like I was just talking about that, like, in a dream. What is going on between my real life and my dream life, going back and forth? I have, like, really, really vivid dreams. Like, I remember my dreams a lot. Like, I remember bits and pieces of them, which is weird to me sometimes. When I was younger, my mom would have me keep a dream journal. And the more that you do that, so like if you, like right when you wake up, if you just like journal ferociously, like what you remember, because it starts fading. Like the longer you've been up, obviously it starts fading, right? But if you write down like right when you wake up, it's what's crazy is you'll start remembering more and more and more of what your dream was. Well, when you do it for a long period of time, what happens is it triggers your mind to remember a lot, like right as you like wake up, like that you remember certain amounts of your dream and whatever. But I remember having a conversation with my dad about it, and he said that, like, let's say if in your dream it seems like, you know, like you journeyed here, you journeyed there, and you did this, and you took a hot air balloon, you know, all across the world and all this kind of stuff. But really, like, in reality, that might be, like, in real time, the last, like, 3 seconds of your dream. Like, that's how your brain works. That in reality, like, that might just be 3 seconds of your dream, and, like, you don't remember the rest of it. I'll tell you something that freaked me out. It happens to me every once in a while, but it freaks me out a couple years ago. It freaked me out was that I would start waking up, and it was like a flash book. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like a picture book that, like, you know, has like the same picture, and it has like the guy in the corner, and each page he's like doing something. So when you flip through it, it looks like he's running. Like, my dream started slowing down like that. And I was like, I can remember waking up and being really freaked out. And I was like, are dreams just these total constructs of our minds? Like, and then if that's the case, is that what our life is too? Like, is our life just like a construct, and like one day we just start slowing down? Like, it just freaked me out a little bit. That's why sometimes I have to be really careful of, like, if I read like science fiction kind of stuff, because it can kind of take my mind to like a weird place. Like, when I read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which is a fantastic book, but like it kind of freaked with my mind a little bit, because it's about like several different universes and things like that, and it just really screwed with my mind a lot. what will today hold, I wonder? So today I have a pretty busy day. And then tomorrow I have my meeting with Tanya, Jane. And then Wednesday, not much. Thursday, not much. Tuesday and Friday during the day, I also have sobriety commitments. And then next Saturday, nothing. And Sunday is Easter. And I would like to watch Peter Cottontail, that movie, before next Sunday. It's on YouTube. You can watch it whenever you want. It's like the claymation version of Peter Cottontail in April Valley. You know, it's kind of sad with, like, the school reunion thing and being involved in all of that. Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's taken me, you know, 30 years to realize that that stuff is kind of important to me. And that I wish I had been involved in. I mean, I had so much fun in high school. I did, like, with my friends after school. Like, during school, you know, I always talk about the bullying and stuff, and, like, I did say this one night on here, it's like, school was not 100% pure hell for me. It wasn't. I mean, I had some good times at school with my friends and stuff like that, and after school was definitely a lot of fun. Like, I had a lot of fun with my friends, but the bullying was hell. The bullying and my feeling like an outsider was what kept me from participating. I mean, nobody said I couldn't go, but it's what kept me from feeling comfortable in participating, you know? Not to mention, on top of not participating or not feeling comfortable, I just didn't care. Like, I wasn't the kid that felt like I needed to go to prom. In fact, I can remember watching Pretty in Pink, and she was like, well, you don't have to go, you know, like, and that was kind of like, I was of that attitude, like, I just didn't, like, I was so kind of anti all that stuff, you know, anti-establishment, anti-pep rally, anti-prom, anti all this kind of stuff. So, like, you know, but, like, now looking back, and I can remember my mom, because my mom was a rebel in high school, but she was very involved in all that stuff. And I can remember my mom saying to me, don't you want to go do this stuff? Like, you're going to look back and regret it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not going to regret it. My dad could care less if I did it or not. But my mom's like, you're going to look back and regret this stuff. And I do kind of look back and regret it now, you know? I mean, I think that the choices that I made and me not participating in stuff made me who I was. You know, I think that it defined kind of future choices of who I was. And I think it defined for me, like, being kind of anti-administration when I was, like, you know, younger, and anti-establishment as I got older. I think, like, I've always been kind of that, you know? And I think to some degree it kind of defined me, but I think maybe in retrospect I missed out a lot, you know? I mean, you know, if I could give any lesson to people that are younger, I would say participate in life, you know? Like, if you're on a college campus, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pledge a fraternity or, you know, sorority, but it's like, be part of something, you know? Be part of something, because you don't want to look back and be like, yeah, I just kind of, like, hung out for 4 years, but I didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in high school, it's like, I wish I would have. Just because my friends were punk rock didn't mean that we couldn't go to a game on a Friday night. You know what I mean? Didn't mean that we couldn't go to a dance or something like that. I don't know. I'm just sad kind of in retrospect that I wasn't more involved in all of that. And the weird thing is like, the older I get, I kind of realize how important it is to me that the people that I went to high school with, we kind of shared some common time together. Like, I don't know why that's important to me. I really don't, but it is. And it's weird. I mean, it's like kind of like, well, it's 30 years ago, so now it's way past that. You know what I mean? Like, it's too late, you know? I guess, like, my life, I've always kind of been too late at realizing my own abilities or possibilities or what's important to me, you know? Like, I've been like that a lot in life. And I will say this, Dunkin' Donuts coming soon. I will say this, that it's not even so much that I'm anti-establishment or I'm anti-this or anti-that or that that's just who I was. The reality is a lot of it's fear. You know, fear kept me from participating in tons in my life, and not just school stuff, but all kinds of things, you know? It stopped me from being in book clubs. It stopped me from participating in intramural volleyball, you know, teams that I think would be a lot of fun. Or just fear has kept me from doing so many things in my life because I am afraid to walk through that door not knowing what you think of me. My social anxiety is just like, people have no idea. Like, people literally have no idea. My husband, Tanya, and Melissa are probably 3 people that really, really get it because they've really witnessed it firsthand. And Melissa, it took a long time for her to understand it. Like, she really didn't get it. And there was a Halloween party, and I think she got it. Because I really pushed myself outside my comfort zone. And that's been since I've been on YouTube. But, like, I used to talk a lot about it on here, you know? That, like, it was really, really hard for me. And I've really worked at it. But still, like if tomorrow somebody was like, I'm trying to think of an example. If tomorrow somebody was like, oh my God, we want you to join our book club, and it's at 2 o'clock at Barnes & Noble, and, well, who do I know there? Well, nobody, you know, but, like, I just wanted to reach out to you because I thought you would like it, and I knew it was going to be me walking through the door solo, no friends, you know, no husband, just me walking through there. Like, today, I could do it. It would take a lot of pep talk for myself to do it. Like, I could do it. And this is the thing that would get me there, is that I know that once I walk through that door and I sit down and I realize that nobody thinks any differently of me than anybody else, because I have to really mentally work through this stuff in my head, that once I sat down there and I worked through it, that I would have a great time. Like, I know that, you know, that I would leave and I'd be so thankful that I came, right? Because, like, that's the payoff. But I have to really work through that because I have so much fear. And I know that fear is rooted in the being bullied, of that social anxiety of, you know, like, well, what are people going to think about me? What are they going to say about me? Are they going to like me? Are they not going to like me, or whatever? And, I mean, I've done a lot of work on that through the years, you know? When you're worried if people are going to like you, if you're not going to like you, and sometimes I think with social anxiety, it isn't even that, like, clearly written in your head. You just, it's not even like the thought, it's just a feeling, a fear, like, you know, if somebody invites you to something, you know, like my husband, if somebody said to him, we'd like you to come to our party, he'd be, like, all excited about it, right? If somebody says to me on Friday night, we'd like you, and I'm like, I feel, like, panicky. Like, all of a sudden, like, okay, now I'm going to have to go to this thing, or I'm going to have to come up with an excuse to not go to this thing. I mean, I feel panicky. I don't like it, right? Like, I have to get used to the idea. It's not even like I'm thinking it. It's just an immediate response. I get nervous. Like, you know, like, I just don't like it. And, I have missed out on so many things in my life out of fear and social anxiety. I've chosen to miss out on so many things in my own life because of that, you know? And I'm really trying not to be that person today because I don't want to miss out on any more in life, but it's hard, you know? Like, in working, I kind of learned to put on a mask with it and be able to, like, walk into situations and be like, hey, how are you? And, you know, I can do that if I have to, but I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't like it. And I'm, like, out as soon as I can get out of the situation. But, and if I have somebody by my side, I'm typically always okay. Like, I'm still kind of nervous, but, you know, it's weird, like, I'm kind of like the kid with his mom where he's like holding onto her pant leg, like if I'm like with a friend at something, you know, and like I've had to really challenge myself to do some things differently, like just by not being that person, you know, like, I don't know, I've just really had to challenge myself. And I remember like when Tanya and I went and we met up with my sponsor at the state convention, and she was sitting like real close to the stage, and she was sitting real close to the stage, and she had saved us seats. And you know, I walk in and it's this banquet hall of like 50 tables. And I know a lot of people that are sitting in there, right? And I now have to walk in because we're late to this thing. And it had just started, but we were like 5 minutes late. And they're up there talking, and like, and my sponsor's like looking over at us, and she's like waving at us. And I'm like, oh my God. But I'm just like, I wave back, and I just like walk through the crowd. And, you know, in that moment, I just have to like find some confidence, you know? I have to find some self-assuredness in myself. And that's hard sometimes, you know? It's really hard. I'm not great with that. And, you know, that's taken me 40 years to get more confident. And I do believe that that's a direct result of the bullying. And I do believe that that's somebody scaring me into my own shell. You know, it's taken me a long time to get through that. And I think the other thing is that even I've had friends of mine that when I am myself, I don't know, tell me if you relate to this at all, but like when I am myself and I am comfortable in my own skin, then they kind of laugh at me, you know, or they'll think that something that I do is, they'll be like, they'll kind of look at me strangely, you know, like when I'm like comfortable and I'm like dancing or laughing or singing, right? And you know, I come to YouTube and I get on YouTube and I start doing funny stuff like on my Peter Monn channel, and like people are like, is that really who you are? Yeah, that's a huge part of who I am. I am goofy like that. And you know, then people like it and they relate to it, and that feels good because there's like, you know, Tanya and I are goofy, but like, you know, there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that like, I would say like they don't see that side of me often. You know, it's like Tanya and I are the most goofiest together. Melissa and I are goofy together. I have some other friends and I that were goofy, you know, and stuff like that. And, but like sometimes like with people that don't, like they're friends, but they don't know me really well. Like if I were to like bust out singing a song in the car or whatever, they kind of look at me like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like they don't really get it. And so then I feel really self-conscious of myself and really uncomfortable. This car just like kind of like just came out of nowhere and started racing up my butt. Well then let me get over if you don't. Watch this. It's 45. I'm going 45. Anyway, I'm like, people probably watch my vlogs and they're like, Peter, you're the slowest driver in the entire world. I really am not. But I am very conscious, you know, of what's going on around me. I don't like that when people are racing up behind me. I don't like it at all. But, you know, sometimes when I feel like, not so much now, I wouldn't say, because I think that people in my life now know, like, that I have this goofy side, or that I don't hold back, or that I sing, you know, out loud, or, you know, like, whatever. Like, most of my friends, I think, in my life today, like, know that's who I am. But I would say, like, throughout my life, I've had friends, I've had people in my life, definitely coworkers. I can remember this one woman I worked with. You know, like, I would be, like, telling a joke or whatever, and she'd say, like, I saw her in a restaurant one time, and I was like, hey, how are you? And she was like, she looked at me, and, like, we're the same age and everything, right? And she was like, and I was like, I mean, I literally, it was like it was a Cafe Pas de Choux. It was a different one than we go to, but it was, like, on a Saturday, and it was, like, packed, right? And it was really loud. And I saw her across the room, and I was like, hey, how are you? And she goes, hold it down. And I was like, what? Like, did you just tell me to hold it down? Seriously? And I feel like I've like had a lot of people in my life that have kind of done that to me, you know, kind of like shamed me a little bit. Like, no, you're too loud, you're too like colorful, you're too boisterous, you know? And that has added to all of that, like, of being like uncomfortable in my own skin, you know what I mean? People don't realize that when they do stuff like that, that's like some horrible stuff that people do. Like, that itself, like, really can hurt people, you know? Like, really make them think about who they are, then make them kind of like go back into their shell. And it's always done that for me, because then I'm like, well, what did I do? Was I too loud? Did I say, should not have said hi? Like, you know, then I start, it's 20 questions in my head. Social anxiety is something that like people really have no idea like how hard it is to deal with and what you fight, you know, and like I've really worked through it, especially so like I can participate with things with my husband. If you've watched my vlog from the very beginning, you know it's something that I talked about for a long time. So anyway, I'm gonna get off here now, and I am going to, she's eating her breakfast on a little paper plate over there. My eye just started itching like crazy. I have a feeling this is gonna be allergy season central. My eye is really itching. But anyway, I'm going to get off here now so I can listen to a little bit of my audiobook and head on home. I hope you guys are having... Oh, somebody asked me why I say have an amazing day unless... or have an amazing weekend unless you have other plans. Okay, so like... It's a friend of mine says it to me, right? That I know in sobriety. And she'll always say, have an amazing day unless you have other plans. And what she's basically saying is that, like... It's a choice. Like, if we have a great day, it's our choice. How we respond to life events, how we respond to the world, how we respond to things that happen to us is our choice. So if you don't have an amazing day, that's on you, nobody else. That's what she's saying when she says it to me. And I love that, right? Because I do believe that. I believe that how we respond to the world in our day is our choice. So... And some days it's tougher than others. I'm not saying that that's easy to always have an amazing day. I'm not saying that. I mean, some days we're handed shit sandwiches and it's hard to stay focused and have an amazing day, you know? But anyway, have an amazing day unless you have other plans. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. I think everybody needs to hear that every day. And, yeah, pass that on to somebody else. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye. I love you.